I call the member for Canberra.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. This MPI today is about the failures of this government to deliver for the Australian people. And there is no more pressing example than the current crisis that our aged care system is in. Aged care was in crisis before COVID. We have seen reports after report. We have seen a royal commission showing absolutely unacceptable neglect in aged care, neglectful, disgraceful treatment of our older Australians, our parents, our grandparents, our husbands and wives, our loved ones, suffering. And the workers who front up every day and have fronted up every day of this pandemic at risk to their own health, their own family's health, to care for these people because they care so deeply about the residents that they care for. But their government is not there supporting them at all. On Tuesday, we met with a group of workers from the aged care sector, from the Australian Nurses and Midwives Federation, and it was an honour to meet with those people, predominantly women, and hear about what they are going through at the moment. Some of them had fronted up after working through the night on their shifts because it was so important for them to be here to give this message. The Prime Minister didn't come out and meet with them. The Prime Minister doesn't care about what's going on in aged care. In fact, he has denied time and time again that it was a crisis until, realising that people know it's a crisis. It's always someone else's fault. It's always someone else's fault. And the very minister that is responsible, who has failed time and time again to prevent and manage this foreseeable crisis, preventable deaths of Australians, vulnerable Australians in the aged care system, an aged care system that is clearly a federal government responsibility, and on their watch these people have died and these people are suffering. Isolated, neglected. The workers that care for them, at the moment, a quarter of shifts are not being filled. A quarter of shifts are not being filled because of the COVID crisis that could have been prevented if boosters had been delivered to the residents and the staff in aged care, if rapid antigen tests had been provided. We knew this was coming. We knew this. We are 3 years into this pandemic, and even before it hit here in Australia, we knew that one of the most vulnerable parts of our community was the aged care sector, and we knew that that's where we had to get the vaccines rolled out immediately. And this government failed in 2020, and they have failed again with this Omicron variant, which we could have seen coming. We saw this coming, and they weren't there for those vulnerable Australians. Now we've got the Defence Force going into aged care. It never should have come to this. It never should have come to this. What a situation we have here. The stories that you hear from the people working in aged care, working so hard to deliver these people some dignity. These people are in agony, People falling out of bed, lying on the floor. Which person do you go to first? The person who's fallen or the person who needs to be taken to the toilet or needs to be changed, needs to be showered, needs to be fed? It's not happening. It's not happening, and people are isolated away from their families, ill. Families are desperately worried about these people in aged care, and it is not good enough. And if there is any question about whether this Prime Minister even cares about Australians, it has been this awful summer that Australians have endured, and the way that he smirked his way through it at the cricket, saying we're taking wickets in the pandemic, while people were ill, people were dying, and so his answer has been always to see it as a political problem. When the testing started to fail, rather than getting the RATS tests out for free to people, he said, get out of the line, go to the beach. Jenny can pick up a RATS when she goes down to the chemist, when we all know it was just about impossible to get them. This is a government that does not care. We are in the dying days of this parliament, and we are instead debating divisive, bills to divide Australians rather than legislation to address this urgent crisis, and it is unforgivable, Deputy Speaker, unforgivable from this government.